phenomenal, and it's packed full of so much knowledge that pretty much anyone of any area in music could utilize. And so with you all, with y'all being, my students, I utilize this as a resource to you guys because they have so many free tutorials in here, but they also have other products that they do sell that I find very useful as well. But
Mhm.
some time because it is very much worth the experience of using, um especially for reviews, or if you ever get into a music program like in a college, or and you're wanting to freshen up on some things, is very helpful for that. All
Got it.
right.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely gonna use that. Okay, I was
Yeah.
gonna, because I was gonna add, I was looking at, I looked at the URL and I was like, I wonder is that free or not? But I was gonna wait to the end to ask. So yeah, definitely, I'm gonna,
Yeah, it
because
is
I
a
do,
free online resource.
because like the book, okay, like the piano book that I have, and I made some printouts, of like the scales and stuff. But I need something that I can actually like study, like a class, like I'm, and that's what I need right there, that website.
Yes. Yeah, they have some great resources on here to help you refresh yourself on things and study. And everything about it I love. There's even like activities that you can do, like little exercises and different things like note identification, key signature identification, interval identification. Um that I would even recommend. They have where you can even adjust them in certain ways just to fit, certain specific things that you need to study on each of those topics.
Mm,
All right. So let's tap into note duration. So I know you and I have done like some clapping exercises in your voice lesson.
mm,
But this is what I was speaking about right here, where I was like, this type of exercise would really help you to gain a full understanding as to how to read music. And this is just the foundational aspect. So it says the length of time that a note is played is called note duration. And it's determined by the type of note. So notice how I said the type of note. So like whether it's a whole note, which is this one, a half note, a quarter note, an eighth note, a 16th note. I was wondering if it had one of the others over here too. They have 32nd notes and 64th notes too. It goes on
mm.
and on. But the most commonly used are these five right here. So um, it says the whole note has the longest note duration in modern music. Okay. The half note has half the duration of the whole note. So let's look at it this way. We have something called a rhythm tree. You may have seen it inside of my studio before, but there's one on here as well. So let's say you have a whole note, right? Well, the two half notes occupy the same amount of time and duration that one whole note holds.
Mhm.
It's like saying this is a whole dollar and you took it and got four quarters and split them into 50 cents each. They still have the same value if you put them together, but when you split them up, they separate. The durations change. So then you would have half the amount of a dollar in each hand versus one whole dollar together. All right. So then you have the quarter note, and that's a fourth of the whole. Um, And so let's look at that inside of the rhythm tree. So now you can kind of start seeing a pattern. You have the whole note at the top, you split that in half. Now you have two half notes, then you split those two in half, and you have two of those on each side, which is four quarter notes.
Mm.
Let me know if you need me to repeat any of this. Is this making a good connection with you?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. So the whole note, you'll hold that for 4 beats.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right, and you said it right. Keep it connected. One, two, three, four. Instead of one, two, three, four. It's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And then the half note that'll get 2 beats, so it'll be 1, 2, 4.
Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how we would look at it.
Got
We
it.
wouldn't clap on the 2 or the 4. We would clap only on 1 and 3. 1, 2. Hold that 2 with it. 3, 4. You see how that works?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
Anything
the
else?
quarter note will just be 1 beat. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right. 1, 2, 3, 4. So they're all beat or sounded individually.
Okay.
Right. And it's on the beat in this case. All right. And then you have the eighth note. So the eighth note is one of the smaller durations of the notes. It has a flag. So notice the flag right there. An eighth note has one flag. Therefore, therefore, 2/8 notes occupy the same amount of time as 1/4 note. So this is where we're saying, okay, we're still breaking everything down. So every time we add a new form of value, those values change and we split them down and keep subdividing. We call it subdividing, right?
Hmm.
And now you have the 16th note. This is that commonly heard rhythm where you hear people go 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a, okay? So
Hmm.
we subdivide those. Now 16th notes, you'll see they have two flags, okay? And so the two 16th notes equal the duration of 1/8 note. So you take the eighth and you split it in half and there's born two 16th notes.
Hmm.
So now then you have four 16th notes that occupy the same time as 1/4 note or duration of time as 1/4 note. So in the same amount of time where you go one, you go 1 E and a. You see how that works?
Yeah.
Now you have these lovelies. Now, we don't sing these, at least not in any songs that I've ever seen. I'm not saying that they don't exist in vocal music. I'm sure they do. But it is very common to find these in orchestral works or in instrumental works, but
Hmm.
not for voice. Not that common. So this chart is displaying the relationship that we spoke of all 5 notes that we discussed in the lesson, so you can see how the rhythm tree subdivides as it continues to break down in its smaller values of notation.
Is there any way you can like demonstrate in a song how this plays out? Because like sometimes I'm singing and I'm like trying to catch the rhythm and like trying to see if they're holding notes for like this amount of time. Like, okay, is this note a whole note? Like how does that play out in the music?
I can show you. All right. So I found this work here. Let's just focus rhythmically though. So the first measure that you see, this area right here, okay? You have a bar line going down. We've spoken about bar lines before. This is the bar line. And after each bar line is a new measure. So this is measure 1 to the left, and this is measure 2. And every measure
Mhm.
after that, it just goes in sequential order 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. Okay. So now what you have here is what kind of note? Tell me what kind of note this is based off what we just reviewed.
A whole note.
It is a whole note. And how many beats does a whole note have typically?
4.
4 beats, right? And you have a C right here. This C means common time. It basically is the same thing as looking at 4/4, like you see in
Okay.
other music that I've shared with you. Okay, it's the same thing. It's basically a synonym. 4/4, 4 beats in the measure, and the quarter note gets the beat. So now you have the whole note, and you know that it has 4 beats. So then when you clap it or sing it, let's say la is going to be the syllable we use. We'll go La, right? And I'm using
Mm-hmm.
my hand as a visual for each beat. La. All right, I gave 4 pulses there, so that's 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what we would count this as here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Don't let the slur confuse you. I'll teach you about slurs later. That's also a tie. I'll tell you about ties later as well. But just focus on the notes. So notice how this whole note then sits here in this measure, and then once we're over past the bar and we go to the next measure, what happens? Is this note the same as this note, or is it different?
It's different. That
It's
is,
different. Can you tell me in what ways that it's different?
it's higher. It's or it's a half note higher.
Well,
Um,
it's a half note and it is written higher than the middle C. Because notice how this is the middle C on that ledger line. And just like
mhm,
previously, how the notes go up, ascending or descending on the staff, this goes up from C to D. Yeah.
mhm.
So this is D. So now, even though the pitch moves up, we also need to consider that the value of the next note is going to be different too. So it's not like we're singing on a whole note and a whole note and a whole note and a whole note and a whole note each measure. Things change in music. We go from whole notes to half notes to quarter notes to whatever
Mhm.
other notes we can come up with, right? And so this is C and you have D. Well, what kind of note? You said it is half note. So how many beats does a half note get?
Two.
2 beats, right? So then we would, let me see if I can annotate here. We'll have 1-2. This is how I scripted my counting. And then this one would be 3 dash what?
Four.
4. Because there are 4 beats in a measure. And one thing I love about music is that it keeps it so accurate that you can't fool music. You can't fool yourself really either unless you're just not paying attention or you're unaware.
Mhm.
But if you know that the music has 4 beats in a measure, then that means that you can't put any more or any less in that measure. It has to be a total of 4 beats. It doesn't matter how it's written as long as it's there. Okay?
So it can't be 1, 2, 1, 2.
No, because we're counting 1, 2, 3, 4. And there are times where, like, say, for example, like when I'm in rehearsals and the director or conductor will say, Hi, everybody, let's make sure we go back and review measure 17, beat 3. Well, measure 17. Okay, so I need to count how many bars that is to get to 17, right? Usually we'll have like a little number off to the side that'll say like this is measure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll say we'll put a little small number saying that this is measure 6. So everybody knows because that 6 is there, it means that it's measure 6. Okay. So, but what we want to make sure that we do is keep account for each beat so we know where to start because the pickup could be on beat 3 in the previous measure. It may not be that he wants to start at beat 1. That maybe by starting at beat 1, we're going to miss the part they wanted to fix, whomever. If we don't address or acknowledge the accountability of rhythm, then we pretty much will lose ourselves in music. So that's why it's so important that we be this tedious as to know that there's beat 1 and beat 2 in the first half note, and there's beat 3 and 4 in the second half note. If we don't pay attention to that, then we will lose all accountability for the music. And then it'd be like, well, what was the purpose? Because now we don't know where we are. So with this, I'll start with the second measure. It would go 1, 2, 3, 4. So I would clap on beats what? Do you remember?
on 1 and 3.
Good. Yes. I would clap on beat 1 and beat 3. So, and then I will hold on the other beats. I will hold. So I clap on 1, hold on 2, clap on 3, hold on 4. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good. Very good. So before we wrap up, I wanted to go over quarter notes with you. Okay. Let's count these. What's this number going to be?
1,
And this one?
2,
Keep going.
3, 4.
Good. So this is beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4. Okay. Notice how it's in 4/4. All right. The time signature is in 4/4. And we have four different types. Well, not different types. We have four different notes in the measure. What are these notes called?
Quarter notes.
Right. And what's the name of the first note, as in letter wise?
E or middle C.
Middle C. Good. What's the next note? Going up and
D.
descending. Huh?
E.
D, right? What's the next one?
E.
E and the next one?
F.
Good. And what's beat 1 of measure 2?
G.
Good. So beat 1 of measure 2 is G. What's the next one?
G. Oh, sorry, I'm looking. F.
Good. You're good. You gotta get used to counting them up and counting them forwards and backwards. It's all. Beat 3 is what?
E.
E. And beat 4 is
D.
D. Good. Does this make better sense to you now?
Yeah, it does. It makes way more sense.
Good. So now I'm gonna clap both measures. So I'll first set a tempo, which is the first thing you want to remember when you are getting ready to count. Always look at the time signature to figure out what time signature you are in, because that does make a huge difference depending on what numbers at the top and or the bottom, because it can change.
Mhm.
And making sure that you are not clapping too fast. I used to be one of those people where I'm like, all right, let's go. And then I start clapping and I'm clapping so fast. I'm like, oh God, I'm missing my beats. Okay. Slow.
Mhm.
Do not go fast. It makes no sense to go fast. You make the best outcomes when you slow down, especially in music. Why? Because when you are training in this type of art, you must give your mind time to look ahead and make sure that it has enough room to look ahead so that you don't have to play catch up. You can trick your mind into thinking you need to play catch up by moving too fast before it's ready. The cool thing about going slow at first is that you can build it up and perfect it on a slower tempo, and then eventually you can increase the tempo, increase the speed of the music to be at a faster pace. And what
Mhm.
that does is it imprints a memory. It's like building a muscle. You know, when you first start doing any type of exercise, you don't want to do it fast because then you might rip a muscle, or, you know, you might really discourage yourself from going back out there again because you might pull something. You never know. So that's what this is like too. You want to take your time. Do not count fast, count slowly so that your brain can recognize the activity that you're doing, get used to it, and then once it's comfortable, add a more of a challenge to it. Make the tempo faster. Throw some other exercises in there. Okay.
Got it.
Back to the clapping. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. Bar line 1, 2, 3, 4. See how that works?
Mhm.
Now I yelled bar line in the middle because I want you to remember that a bar line starts the music over. Like it not starts it over as in like the entire song, but like the counting. It starts
Yeah.
the counting over in rotation. Okay. Oops, if I can draw on here. Bar line. Okay. Did you have any other questions regarding this activity?
Uh, Not right now. If I come up with anything else, I think I'll ask.
Please feel free to comment and share and let me know if you have any questions regarding this activity today. Thank you for watching.